laugh at the people who are angry, which it's the happy warrior that I think we all like. Often like Joe. Joe, I gather being cool, sexy, and smooth is a more persuasive tactic.
I find that works in the long run, Greg. I think revenge is like cold pizza. It's best served cold. I would say cold pizza. But yeah, I don't look at people who disagree with me as necessarily bad people. I just think that they're stupid people that I have to persuade.
Yeah. And on that note, oh, we are so far behind. Up next, our ombudsman is back to tell us what we got wrong.
Icy hot. Ice works fast. Heat makes it last. Feel the power of contrast therapy so you can rise from pain. Can the daily recommended servings of fruits and vegetables fit into just 6 capsules? Yes. We start by sourcing the best vine-ripened fruits and vegetables. We ensure they are picked at peak ripeness. All of our produce is third-party tested for pesticides, heavy metals, bad bacteria, and nutrients. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum-cooled process which removes the water using pressure. This maximizes the nutritional value while preserving the color, smell, and taste of the fruit or vegetable. The freeze-dried food is then ground into a fine powder without adding any additives, fillers, or extracts. These powdered foods are then mixed in our proprietary blends and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped directly to our customers. Balance of Nature is now offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FOXNEWS.
Here we go. See Disney's Jungle Cruise. It's time to rock the boat, America. Trey Gowdy on Fox News Weekends.
Put me down as someone who believes public safety is the primary function of government.
Sunday Night America with Trey Gowdy on Fox News Channel.
When it comes to real estate agents, experience matters. The best agents know how to market your home for top dollar and navigate through a complex transaction. At Ideal Agent, we created our smart seller system with top-rated local agents to sell your home for as low as a 2% commission.
I was amazed in the fact that my house sold in one day. Ideal Agents saved me in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 in commissions. The process was as easy as it gets. It was turnkey. I'm a very busy guy, and they just took care of everything. They are the #1 way to sell your house.
I've used Ideal Agent 2 times. Ideal Agent guided me through the entire process, every step. You want to have the best agents, but you want to get the best deal. Using Ideal Agent with both properties, I've saved over $30,000. Our service is free, available nationwide, and there's zero obligation. Call us today or visit idealagent.com.
It's a mixed-up world, and the way we work looks a little different. But whether you embrace the new normal or just want to get back to the routines that feel right, X-Chair continues to be at the forefront of change, which is why we've launched the all-new X-Chair with Elemax. Elemax combines gentle body temperature regulation with stress-melting massage to increase your comfort working from home or at the office. Feel more refreshed in seconds with dual fans that actively deliver a cooling airflow. Or you can wrap your back in the soothing warmth of heat therapy and access 4 combinations of massage for deep relief from tension. Our patented dynamic variable lumbar support and SciFloat Infinite Recline technology remain unchanged. Order an X-Chair with Elemax today. Use code TV and get $50 off plus a free footrest. Hey, change happened, and we've made it a good thing with all new Elemax from X-Chair. Now the future feels better than ever before. Order X-Chair with Elemax today. Use code TV and get $50 off plus a free footrest.
Welcome back. Let's find out if we got anything wrong this week. For that, we go to our show's ombudsman, Steve Phoenix Jr. Oh, yeah. Steve, how'd I do? Flawless as usual? Well, not even close, Greg. In fact, let's go to Tuesday and start off with one of your favorite subjects, sphincters. Hit it, Mike. You don't need a silver fork to eat good food. All you need is some rice, some beans, and a very strong sphincter. It's true. You know, it's one of the few muscles you can control, Dagan. So, Greg, that's not true, okay? Your body consists of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. Skeletal is the stuff you can control. So think fingers, biceps, facial muscles. And forget that last group if you're Nancy Pelosi. So it's more than just a few. It's more than just a few, like you said. Now, however, you were partially right. You're actually sitting on 2 types of sphincters, which I'm sure you're thrilled about. I believe you were referring to the external sphincter, which is under conscious control. The internal one is involuntary smooth muscle, and like your intestines, you can't control that. So, if you you might make fewer mistakes.
Says the guy who's running on right now.
How dare you, sir? You paid me to be here. I'm doing my job, but we do have to move on. Emily, how are you? Emily, this one is for you and Greg. But let's hear what you said last night about Eric Clapton refusing to play concerts where proof of vaccination was required for attendance. Mike, roll it.
I think that this makes him a rock star, an awesome rock star, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
He's taken a stand against the establishment, to your point, and for once someone has stood up for what they believe.
Trey, I assume you know who Eric Clapton is.
And I know who Eric Clapton is, too.
He did write the song Cocaine.
Well, first, Emily, I'm just disappointed.
What?
You say standing up for himself makes him a rock star. Eric Clapton has been a literal rock star since the 1960s. He's been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 times.
I know. I just was saying it like on top. That's what makes him really a rock star. Double.
Yeah, I think
Like totally super double.
I totally understood what Emily was saying.
Yeah, she was saying like he was a cool
Right.
rock star opposed to like a boring rock star like a Neil Diamond or something like
Oh, how dare you, sir!
Well, Greg, hey.
Yes.
Eric Clapton, by the way, did not write the song Cocaine.
That is true.
It was written and recorded by American singer-songwriter J.J. Cale in 1976.
Right.
Your boy Clapton released a cover version the following year.
Yes. I was high on coke during that time, so I don't remember it.
You and everybody else involved in those recordings. Does not surprise me in the least. All right, we got to keep going. Tyrus,
What?
how are you?
I don't know. How are you?
I'm wearing a bow tie. How do you think I am? Earlier, you commented on Joe's jacket saying he's wearing it fully zipped up like a guy who knows stuff. Just wondering if you could tell us what that means exactly.
It's between me and Joe and guys with zipped up jackets. Do you
Joe,
have a jacket?
anything to add?
No. Don't tell him nothing, Joe. Joe, don't do it. Joe.
I didn't hear nothing.
All right. Well, it sounds like their lips are as sealed as their jackets, and that's all the time I've got. Greg, I got to get out of here, all right?
Goodbye. Stay right there. We'll be right back. You're Cousin from Boston.
Sam Adams' new Wicked Easy. It's light, hazy. Perfect for a day like today. Dude, you gonna pay for this?
Yeah.
Sam Adams' new Wicked Easy.
Priceline will partner with even more Vegas hotels to turn their unsold rooms into amazing deals. Delegates, how do you vote?
Yes.
That is freaky. Priceline, every trip is a big deal.
There's an America we build, and one we explore. One that's been paved, and one that's forever wild. But freedom means you don't have to choose just one adventure. You get both. Introducing the wildly civilized, all-new, 3-row Jeep Grand Cherokee L.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now, there's Skyrizi. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clearer skin at 4 months after just 2 doses.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
That thing is everything.
Now is the time to ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi.
What's on the horizon? The answers lie beyond the roads we know. We recognize that energy demand is growing, and the world needs lower carbon solutions to keep up. At Chevron, we're working to find new ways forward, like through our venture capital group, backing technologies like electric vehicle charging, carbon capture, and even nuclear fusion. We may not know just what lies ahead, but it's only human to search for it.
It's not just what they learn, it's what they remember that matters most. In most schools, kids can lose up to 50% of what they're taught in just a few days. But with spiral learning from Abeka, kids retain more and learn lessons that will last a lifetime. Learn how at abeka.com.
When we heard there was money in our home, we did what anyone would do. We went looking for it.
Well, you did.
I did.
Then we heard about Rocket Mortgage, and with just a few taps, you can turn your home's equity into cash. Consolidate your debt, pay off student loans.
Renovate your home.
Fix your home.
Fix your home.
When you need cash out of your home and a simple way to get it, Rocket can.
Great job, honey.
Rocket. So worth it.
With
intersection of ADT, it's safe to say. Hey Google, unlock the front door. Or it's safe to say. With ADT, it's safe to say.
Nap time.
When you've helped save more lives than any other home security brand, it's safe to say. There's a reason millions of people trust ADT to help protect what matters most.
Conventional thinking doesn't disrupt the status quo, which is why T-Mobile for Business uses unconventional thinking to help your business realize new possibilities. Only one 5G partner offers unmatched network support and value without any trade-offs.
We are out of time. Set your DVRs every night so you never miss an episode. Thanks to Pete Exit, Joe Mackey, Emily, Tyrus, Steve Phoenix Jr., our wonderful studio audience. Fox News at 9 is next. I'm Greg Gutfeld. I love you, America.
Hello and welcome to Fox News at Night. I'm Mike Emanuel in for Shannon Bream in Washington. Breaking tonight, the police chief in the Washington, D.C. announcing major changes to his department's patrol strategy 24 hours after a shocking shooting in an upscale neighborhood not far from the White House. Our panel of law enforcement veterans joins us live to discuss the violence plaguing our nation's big cities and how the shortage of police officers is only making it worse. A gut-wrenching 911 call made by a man who just discovered his wife and his son shot dead has been released. Fox News at Night investigates the mystery behind the double homicide in a prominent South Carolina family. And one of the most divisive issues in the country, abortion, the Hyde Amendment has blocked federal dollars from paying for abortion coverage for decades, but now pro-choice Democrats want to make that rule a thing of the past. But we begin tonight with the latest graphic illustration of the serious danger posed by America's growing crime crisis. White House correspondent Kevin Corke is staying on top of the story tonight. Good evening, Kevin.
Evening, Mike. As you know, there's an old adage, talk is cheap. So no matter how much policymakers talk about their so-called solutions to violence in America's cities, one thing is inescapable. If the crime numbers aren't going down, you're not solving the problem. Which is why, with violence surging across the country, so many competing stakeholders are now searching for new answers. From Chicago and San Francisco to New York and Washington, D.C., and many of America's largest cities, it's already been a long, hot, violent summer. Last night at the nation's capital, dozens of shots rang out as patrons ducked for cover amid gunfire in a busy restaurant district.
I'm mad as hell about this, and I hope y'all are too. Do we want to help people? Yes, we should. But you cannot coddle violent criminals. You cannot.
For calls to defund the police helping you?
I don't think that those calls are helping.
An indignant Washington, D.C. police chief following last night's shooting just blocks north of the White House had sent diners scrambling for safety. Just 2 weeks ago, D.C. crossed the 100 homicide mark. That's the earliest the district has crossed that threshold in 18 years. In fact, there have been 8 more homicides since then. Carjackings, by the way, are up 74% compared to last year. The shooting on 14th Street comes just days after a shooting outside of Nationals Park that sent thousands of panicked fans, many with small children, rushing for the exits. But at the White House, they say their plan to help cities like Washington curb violence is working.
The cornerstone of the president's comprehensive plan to reduce gun violence is providing communities with the tools and resources they need to reduce gun crime, including in Washington, D.C. D.C. is one of the 5 areas nationwide where DOJ launched gun trafficking strike forces just yesterday, which are going to focus law enforcement resources across jurisdictions to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
One of those cities is Chicago, Illinois, where Attorney General Merrick Garland Thursday announced the new federal strike force's primary goal: to go after the sources of guns that end up on Chicago streets. Very important visit there to the Windy City. By the way, still in that city, Mike, tensions are boiling over between the police chief there and the city's top prosecutor. Chicago Superintendent David Brown once again blaming Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx and her team for being simply too lenient on criminals and releasing them back on the streets too soon. As for her part, Foxx called Brown's complaints finger-pointing. Mike?
Interesting. Kevin, the people in New York City have been witnessing some awful violence in the streets, and tonight you're following the brutal beating of a 61-year-old woman in Harlem. I understand a group of people beat her with a cooking pot and stole her walker?
Yeah, unbelievable, Mike. And listen, you and I both love New York. I've been there so often. I lived in the city in Murray Hill for a while, and to watch it sort of turn into this terrorscape is just unbelievable. As you pointed out, police there, Mike, are looking for 3 women and a man between the ages of 20 and 30. Critics are arguing, though, that this is not just some random attack. Rather, it's the result of efforts to, again, defund the police there, and they also point to relaxed arrest and prosecution standards, and they say that is making things significantly worse in the city, even though, as you heard Jen Psaki say, the White House is trying to work with stakeholders on the ground in places like New York to try to turn things around, Mike.
Awful attack. Kevin Cork starting us off tonight. Kevin, we'll see you a little later.
Yes, sir.
We are getting new insight tonight into last month's double murder of a mother and son of a prominent South Carolina family. Investigators releasing the audio of the 911 call placed by Alex Murdaugh after he came home on the night of June 7th to find the bodies of his wife and son. Correspondent Brian Yennis has the details tonight. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Mike. Tonight, a newly released, gut-wrenching, and heartbreaking 911 call made by a man who just discovered his wife and son shot dead as the mystery behind this double homicide deepens.
That was sad. Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
That was Alex Murdaugh, distraught, speaking to a 911 dispatcher after discovering his 52-year-old wife Maggie and 22-year-old son Paul shot multiple times in the back of his South Carolina estate about 70 miles west of Charleston.
Is he moving at all, your son? I know you said that she was shot, but what about your son?
Nobody. They're not. Neither one of them's moving.
The state police releasing the June 7th 911 call 6 weeks after the unsolved murders. Police have not identified any suspects or persons of interest, though Alex Murdaugh, a lawyer, reportedly provided police with a, quote, ironclad alibi about his whereabouts at the time of the double homicide.
I already touched them trying to get to see if they were breathing.
Okay. Well, I just don't want you to move anything just in case they can get any kind of evidence.
The Murdaughs are one of the most influential families in South Carolina. 3 generations served as local district attorneys, and at the time of his murder, Alex's son Paul was awaiting trial for killing a 19-year-old woman in 2019 while allegedly boating under the influence.
I really don't know of any enemies. You hear all this talk on the social media with regard to Paul, but I don't know of anybody that would truly be an enemy.
The Daily Mail also reports the family has ties to 2 other mysterious deaths: the 2015 hit-and-run killing of a gay teen near the Murdaugh's hunting lodge, and in 2018, Alex reportedly settled a wrongful death claim in the trip-and-fall death of their 57-year-old housekeeper. The Murdaugh family is offering a $100,000 reward for anyone with any information that leads to a conviction. Mike?
Brian Yennis, thanks very much. 24 hours ago, Fox News at Night was bringing you the breaking news of the latest brazen shooting here in Washington, the scene less than a mile from the White House. Tonight, the police chief in our nation's capital sounding off on one of the root causes of the recent surge in gun violence.
You cannot coddle violent criminals. You cannot. You cannot treat violent criminals who are out here making communities unsafe for you, for your loved ones, for me, for my loved ones. They might not want a job. They might not. They might not need services. What they may require is to be off of our streets because they're making it unsafe for us.
Let's bring in a couple law enforcement veterans for reaction and to address America's crime problem. Former Washington, D.C. homicide detective, attorney Ted Williams, and former Las Vegas police lieutenant, the Wounded Blue founder, Randy Sutton. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
One major challenge here in Washington, D.C. is evidently a shortage of police officers. Take a listen to the chief.
The reality is we have a shrinking workforce. 200 and some officers less this year than what I had last year.
Ted, what about that dilemma?
Mike, that is always very troubling within a police department. What you have is police officers leaving the Washington, D.C. Police Department in droves. As a matter of fact, between now and last year this time, they've had 386 officers to leave. 40% of those officers have actually resigned. Morale is very low. They don't believe that the city council have the officers back, and so that's creating a problem within the ranks of the Metropolitan Police Department.
Here is the view from the White House.
D.C. is one of the 5 areas nationwide where DOJ launched gun trafficking strike forces just yesterday, which are going to focus law enforcement resources across jurisdictions to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
Randy, is that going to help? You just heard the lion left. That is their tactic. It is an absolute lie to the American people. What they are proposing is preposterous. It will have no impact on crime. If you want to impact crime, you have to confront it head on. You have to understand that it is criminal gangs that is responsible for the violence. It is not the gun sellers in legal establishments. It's nonsense. So here's what really needs to be done. We need to go back to old-fashioned policing. You have to let law enforcement officers be law enforcement officers, not social workers, not people who are what's the new term? Oh yeah, violence interrupters. They need to be cops. And if you let cops be cops, they will solve the problem.
Ted, it strikes me that there's always been a crime problem in Washington, D.C. Is the fact some of this is happening now in trending neighborhoods why it's getting more attention?
I think it is, and that's unfair to the minority communities. Just several weeks ago, we had a 6-year-old child, now Courtney, that was killed by a stray bullet. We also had the shooting at National Park. And so all of a sudden now, we have the chief of police coming out. I must say, I know this chief of police. His heart is right. He wants to do the right and proper thing for the community, but he needs help. And I think our guest just said it. They've got to have community policing. You've got to have those police officers out there in the neighborhood establishing a rapport with the community. They need to have them flood these zones, get these crooks, make them feel uncomfortable. And these thugs don't feel uncomfortable, Mike, at this time.
With the manpower shortage now, they're saying they have to take them off the streets and off the corners, so that may only aggravate the problem. Now to Northern California, a Berkeley runner went missing. Detectives say it's an unprecedented mystery. Philip Krasik disappeared on the morning of July 10th after telling his wife he was going for a run at Pleasanton Ridge Regional Park. This guy's a 37-year-old ultra-marathon runner. Here is the sheriff's office working this case.
Having been up there, it's pretty difficult to get lost up there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's plenty of ways to find your way out of there. So, you know, to rule getting lost up there, I think would be difficult.
Randy, what do your police instincts tell you?
Well, this is a difficult situation. You know, there's 3 major possibilities here. The first is that he suffered a medical emergency, and he may be still up there, probably not going to be alive at this point, considering the time factor, and may be hidden in an area where searchers may have even walked right by it. But it's not that difficult to understand when people can slip into crevices and things like that. The other 2 possibilities are that this is a involuntary missing person, meaning that there's a possibility of an abduction, or that he is a voluntary missing person, and that this is really something that is highly unusual, because you have to have a lot of resources, a lot of money, where you set up your own disappearance.
Right.
But it's going to probably be one of those things.
Fascinating. Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Many thanks. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Breaking tonight, the Department of Justice is dropping an investigation of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo into whether he violated the civil rights of New York nursing home residents with his controversial admission policy that required medically stable COVID-19 patients discharged from hospitals to be admitted to assisted living facilities. As the Biden administration reportedly weighs a recommendation for a federal mask mandate, pushback is already happening in Los Angeles County, where everyone, regardless of vaccination status, has been told to cover their faces indoors again. Correspondent Jeff Paul is taking a closer look from our West Coast newsroom in Los Angeles. Good evening, Jeff.
Mike, right now in LA County, if you're inside somewhere like a store or restaurant, you have to mask up. But some bars in Los Angeles are taking precautions a step further. A few are now requiring patrons to either show proof of their vaccine or a recent negative COVID test. With so many mixed messages from the government and health departments going around, they felt the need to take matters into their own hands. They say it's about protecting the community, but also their livelihoods. One bartender is already preparing for some customers to have a problem with it.
And you know what? If they do, bye. There's other bars to go to. I just feel like right now we all have to do our part to just keep California open, to keep things moving forward, because we cannot do another 15 months of being closed and unemployment.
2 restaurants in the LA area aren't taking any chances and are closing temporarily due to COVID. One of the businesses made the decision after a fully vaccinated staff member tested positive. The other is taking a break for a few days due to a recent increase in cases in LA County. Meanwhile, in nearby Pasadena, California, after crafting a policy that will make vaccines mandatory for all city workers upon the shot's FDA approval, Mayor Victor Gordo is now calling on LA County and all 88 cities within it to do the same. Pasadena's city manager says when a police officer or firefighter shows up to a home, residents don't get to pick whether they send someone vaccinated or not. He says this is about employees being healthy and the public not getting sick.
I know people are concerned about getting too far in front. Everyone's concerned about someone suing or taking an adverse action. But we're dealing with a once-in-a-century global pandemic. If now is not the time for bold and deliberate action, I don't know when is.
The mayor of Pasadena also hopes private employers follow their example. Mike?
Jeff Paul in LA. Jeff, thanks a lot. The top Republican on the House Education Committee is calling on Education Secretary Miguel Cardona to fully and publicly denounce critical race theory material. Congresswoman Virginia Foxx of North Carolina sent a letter to Cardona today after Fox News reporting about the Biden administration's school reopening guide. It included a link to a radical group, the Abolitionist Teaching Network, calling for educators to disrupt whiteness and other forms of oppression. The Biden administration has called that an error, but Congresswoman Foxx is calling on the Education Secretary to correct mistakes in the department's support of what she calls a divisive agenda. For decades, Congress has blocked federal dollars from paying for abortion coverage, but that could soon change if pro-choice Democrats have their way. Congressional correspondent Chad Burgum reporting tonight from Capitol Hill. Good evening, Chad.
Mike, money dictates policy in Washington. That's why the Hyde Amendment has been a part of every government spending bill since just after Roe versus Wade. It's named after late Illinois Republican Congressman Henry Hyde.
It violates your right to be born, your right to life, which our Declaration says is a fundamental endowment, and it is inalienable, the right to life.
Pro-choice and pro-life lawmakers reached détente long ago, prohibiting the government from funneling federal dollars to Medicaid for abortions. But Democrats have now stricken the Hyde Amendment from a spending bill.
Repealing the Hyde Amendment is the best thing that we can do to support our mothers and families and to help prevent, rather than penalize, unwanted pregnancies.
Pro-choice advocates applauded the move.
This is really a game changer, regardless of the income you have, that you have this coverage, and denying it to people just because their income is lower is grossly unfair.
Stripping the Hyde Amendment enraged Republicans.
They're non-starters, they're game enders. This is a real red line for the Republican conference.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tipped her hand on the Hyde Amendment late last year.
Way before I was in Congress, as soon as the Hyde Amendment was there, I was thinking, how can we get rid of that? So it's long overdue getting rid of it, in my view.
But a spending bill without the Hyde Amendment faces a filibuster in the Senate. That's why even pro-life Democrats are skeptical the Hyde Amendment disappears.
We'll see what happens here in the Senate, but we're at the early stages of a very long budget process. I don't make a budget decision based upon one provision.
Ending the Hyde Amendment comes with peril.
Risking a government shutdown over a provision that is not likely to actually become law is a risky thing for Democrats to do.
Even if the Hyde Amendment survives, liberal Democrats can show their base. They came closer than ever to ending the federal firewall on abortion funding. Mike?
Chad Burgum on Capitol Hill. Chad, thanks very much. Caught on camera, a glowing planet in the night sky over Tokyo, and ever lock something important in your car like, I don't know, set of keys or your favorite shirt? How about a wild bear? The day's best viral videos, next.
This program is brought to you by the all-new Kia Sorento, the world's first storytelling machine.
The leap of faith. Some hesitate, but not you. You don't ask what if. You embrace what's next with open arms. You don't question your decision. You double down. Because you know the thrill is worth it. Introducing the 2022 Telluride Nightfall Edition.
Millions so vulnerable Americans struggle to get reliable transportation to their medical appointments. That's why I started MedHall. Citi launched the Impact Fund to invest in both women and entrepreneurs of color like me so I can realize my vision and give everything I've got to my company and my community. I got you.
For the love of people, for the love of community, for the love of progress. Citi. If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can become your big moment. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain, and the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
We did it again. Verizon has been named America's most reliable network by RootMetrics, and our customers rated us #1 for network quality in America, according to J.D. Power. #1 in reliability 16 times in a row. Most awarded for network quality 27 times in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network.
I was getting run down. I was coaching. I coach all the time. I work early in the morning. I needed energy. So I started taking Balance of Nature, and I could coach better. I could hit the ball harder at my players. I can make an overhand serve, which I have not been able to do in a long time. And my players noticed too, like, you got more energy.
Balance of Nature does give me that peace of mind. Instead of trying to isolate certain vitamins and minerals, you're taking the whole thing. I think it's the closest thing to actually eating real fruit and vegetables.
With Balance of Nature, immediately I noticed that my energy levels picked up. Even with not a lot of sleep, I could function and be the mom I needed to be for my son.
Start your journey with the best fruit and vegetable product on the market by going to balanceofnature.com or by calling 1-800-2468-751. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code FOX News.
Imagine being able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. Sandals, more quality inclusions than any other resorts on the planet. Save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
When it comes to real estate agents, experience matters. The best agents know how to market your home for top dollar and navigate through a complex transaction. At Ideal Agent, we created our smart seller system with top-rated local agents to sell your home for as low as a 2% commission.
I was amazed at the fact that my house sold in one day. Ideal Agents saved me in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 in commissions. The process was as easy as it gets. It was turnkey. I'm a very busy guy, and they just took care of everything. They are the #1 way to sell your house.
I've used Ideal Agent 2 times. Ideal Agent guided me through the entire process, every step. You want to have the best agents, but you want to get the best deal. Using Ideal Agent with both properties, I've saved over $30,000. Our service is free, available nationwide, and there's zero obligation. Call us today or visit idealagent.com.
More than 1,800 drones took to the Tokyo skies, forming a rotating Earth during the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. The visual event taking place over the Japan National Stadium, and social media went bananas. An array of singers, including Keith Urban and John Legend, contributed to the performance of John Lennon's Imagine. Out west, barreling through highways and residential areas, a suspect in a stolen Mercedes-Benz sedan sent officers on a wild chase that ended abruptly after the driver slammed right into a fence. Aerial footage showing the driver getting out of the car with his hands up and surrendering. Firefighters near Quincy, California are all hands on deck working to contain the massive fly fire captured all over social media. The massive plumes of smoke can be seen billowing high into the sky. The fire has burned more than 1,600 acres.
Now this, crowds gathered as Lucky Pulse, a 35-pound rehabilitated juvenile green turtle, was fitted with a nifty satellite tracker and returned to her home in Sombrero Beach in the Florida Keys. Kudos to the crew at the Turtle Hospital for their work with these majestic creatures. And finally, a man on vacation with his friends found an unusual discovery in his car, a black bear. The TikTok video, now gone viral, shows Joseph Deal slowly opening his car door as he and his buddies tried to scare off the critter. Luckily, the bear just looked around and scampered off into the forest. Lots of damage to the vehicle, but luckily no one got hurt. Hit us up at Mike Emanuel Fox or Fox News Night on social media. We have exclusive new video tonight of Texas law enforcement officers pursuing human smugglers along the dangerous southern border. Correspondent Bill Malusian reports from Del Rio, Texas.
Friday morning in Del Rio, Texas, a massive group of 250 migrants is walked through the border gate by Border Patrol and taken into federal custody. This group made up of people from all around the world, mostly Haitians, some from Africa, even one man turn themselves in. The ones in this vehicle are not. This is new video of a Texas state trooper pulling over an SUV driven by a human smuggler right here in Del Rio. As the trooper approaches, the smuggler floors it and takes off. The trooper pursues, and a short time later, the smuggler pulls off the road and bails out on foot.